Hello and welcome. Hello. Robin Williams. Hello and welcome to the Ant-Man channel. It is Wednesday the 17th of September 2014 and I'm your host Ant-Man. Thank you for tuning in. I have an article in front of me from thechristianpost.com and it is by Alex Morashko. Evangelicals for marriage equality say supporters are not compromising Christian beliefs. Focus in on government recognition of same-sex marriages. I guess the state is God now when it comes to Christianity. When it comes to the Christians of today, it seems like the state is God and the Bible is like something else. We don't live by the Bible anymore, obviously, because if we did, we wouldn't accept it because it's just not right. We're being forced to deal business and we're being forced, literally, businesses are being forced to go against their conscience when it comes to baking a cake for a gay couple or shooting photos for a gay couple. It doesn't, it's just it's an injustice. This has nothing to do with civil rights. It is majority tyranny, and the culture is really trying to make it an acceptable thing now. They're teaching your 6-year-olds how to have sex, and they're trying to make it. I think that's all an agenda to make more people gay, and I also I see that the state is trying to make it an openly normal thing for gay people to just be, you know what I mean, looked at like I see them as, to me, they're sinners like everyone else. They're just sinners like everyone else, but to say that we're the bad guys and they can enforce their rules on us is not right. You know what I mean? And there's a whole little agenda here when it comes to having majority tyranny and shutting up a certain minority or a certain type of people, and that is aimed toward us Christians. You could see that the IRS targets conservative groups. You could see that Christianity is under fire in many realms, even in the realm of science. Academics don't allow Christians to have a worldview in popular science, and because of that, most people are brainwashed. Absolutely believing in something as ridiculous as evolution. Let me just get into this. The advocacy group Evangelicals for Marriage Equality responded to recent criticism from Christians arguing against the recognition of same-sex marriage by saying supporters of EME are not compromising Christian beliefs and are instead focused specifically on gay unions receiving the same government recognition and rights as traditional married couples do. We've been very clear in our statement of belief that it's not our intent to water down our faith or compromise our deeply held Christian beliefs. EME spokesman Brandon Robertson told the Christian Post. That's why we focus specifically on government recognition of same-sex relationships, bestowing the same rights. Hospital visitation, funeral preparation, and tax treatments on a committed same-sex relationship as we do on opposite-sex relationships. Asked to respond to an op-ed by Andrew T. Walker, Director of Policy Studies for the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention, in which he wrote that no real arguments were made to support same-sex marriages, Robertson said Walker was misinformed. There are Christians that are trying to write doctrines about allowing same-sex marriage couples to get married and all that kind of stuff, and it's just, I guess, if you can sear your conscience as with a hot iron, you can get yourself to believe anything, I guess. Walker's piece includes him stating, "This isn't just about Christianity's teaching on marriage, it's about the definition of marriage for society. It's about whether marriage is malleable or whether marriage has a fixed social purpose that's been recognized throughout all of human history as something distinct from other relationships. To say that the union of a man and a woman is different is not grounded in bigotry or discrimination. It's grounded in the powers of observation that draw rightful distinctions between different sets of relationships." Ultimately, man, I'm accountable to God. You want to give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, but ultimately you render unto God what is God's, and my soul, my worship, everything belongs to God. And I don't compromise. You shouldn't compromise just because it's going to cause people to look at you like, there's so many new age philosophies out there nowadays that and atheists and all that, we're confronted with these people nowadays. And I think that there's just Christians out there that are just kind of weak when it comes to defending their faith. They don't defend their faith because they're afraid of being called names. They're afraid of, people opposing them and stuff like that. And it's just kind of like, I don't know what verse it was in the Bible that says you're gonna win popularity contests being a Christian, but I did read in John 15, you know, 17 and 18 that the world will, you know, if the world hates you, remember, you know, it hated me first. I don't see how it's so hard to, you know, I don't know how people can forget that. I really don't. I see that the charismatic New Age, like, you know, the emergent church is one of those churches. We want to be trendy. We want to wear fake glasses and act trendy, and we want to fit in with society. And people, man. I mean, it's just, you can get yourself to believe in whatever you want, but as long as the Word of God is not your authoritative, you know, like where the rubber meets the road, where, like, you know, like where the line is drawn, then I don't know, you'll compromise, I guess, for almost anything that's going to come in our day. As long as you don't suffer any persecution, as long as you live the easy life, because as long as you believe in Jesus, He has a wonderful plan for your life, and you're not going to go through any hardship and adversity. I don't know what verse that is, but that's what it seems to be believed by most Christians these days, and it's terrifying, very terrifying. I heard a pastor tell me yesterday that I'm being condemning because I'm telling people that there is no one good in this world. Not one person is good, no one seeks after God, and that all fall short of the glory of God. That is terrifying to know that I know pastors that think like that. Terrifying. Because I guarantee you, Christians, the real Christians out there like you and me, are going to have to face, we're going to need to get real strong in our faith in these days, man. Because these Christians are going to think they're doing a service to God by murdering us. It says that in the book of Revelations. It says that, or Revelation, I said Revelations. In the book of Revelation, it says that they will be killing God's saints because they think that they're doing a service to God. They think because we are using the sword of the Spirit that we are invoking bigotry and hate, and they're going to actually be so hypocritical and blind and reprobate in mind that they think that killing us is going to be good. And I recommend that you go check out Blood on the Altar. That's a book about a coming war between Christian and Christian. And it just sounds like a very fascinating thing to read, you know what I mean? Because you can already see this type of thing happening already. Robertson disagrees on making distinctions between types of unions and wrote in an email to CP. Walker misunderstands the goal that Evangelicals for Marriage Equality is working toward. I see. He added, Walker rejects the suggestion that he's asking the government to uphold Christian orthodoxy, yet in the next sentence asks the government to tell the truth about marriage, a truth that he pulls directly from our shared religious faith. And for reasons that we state clearly in our statement of belief, a religiously diverse society like ours can't rely on one religion's definition of marriage and establishing who the government recognizes as... sorry, you know, this stupid website is just... As married is what it says. It always refreshes itself. Walker does take it a step further, arguing that the man-woman relationship is the basic social unit of society, of civilization. But his argument ignores reasons other than childbearing that a government could choose to recognize marriage. Family stability, for instance, the presence of two parents or whatever gender provides a loving and supportive household, either for children of their own or for the thousands of children waiting for a loving adoptive parent. Now, saying it makes zero sense to offer a set of benefits and privileges to some couples but not others, Robertson pointed to hospital visitation rights and funeral planning as benefits that share no particular gender or orientation distinction. Reaction to EME's launch last week, heralded by an op-ed in Time by Robertson, was met with harsh criticism from some Christians, including the opinion piece also published in Time by Walker. I eagerly await the young evangelical that finally convinces me that the Bible and human history are wrong on marriage and that justice requires that both Christianity and and bestow marriage on same-sex relationships, wrote Walker, in an evangelical defense of traditional marriage. I saw a lot of emotion. I saw appeals to injustice and craven caricatures of Christianity, but I didn't see any real arguments, writes Walker. In 800 words, there's not a coherent argument about the nature of marriage, and that's what this debate Americans are having is about, isn't it? It's about one question: what is marriage? What is marriage, Christians? Wasn't it a covenant given by God in the Garden of Eden? Wasn't it something that must be obeyed because God says so? Ultimately, doesn't God, cause the rain to fall on our land and the fruit of our hands to you know what I mean? The work of our hands to bear fruit. Isn't God, you know what I mean? It's like nobody reads the book of like Haggai or Zechariah, because I mean it's obvious that God says like it's not that, because His word is the truth, and if you don't obey it, then it's kind of like you're doing something harmful to yourself. And marriage is ordained to work between a man and a woman, and that is God's covenant. Now we know that there is just immorality centered around the fact that the homosexuality issue. It's centered around an immorality. And that's what it is that we cannot allow something that God created to be perverted. God created a man to be with a woman, and that marriage covenant should not, it should not be broken. We would be dishonoring God in a gigantic way with that. And I think that ultimately God bestows blessings on a nation and on a people. And if we turn our backs on the way that He says we should do things, we're ultimately going against God. And I think God will bring us down for that. God will discipline us for that. He will bring us back to our senses, but not without punishment. Not without hardship and discipline, because He's a loving God and He's a jealous God, and He will bring us to our senses some way or another, because usually it takes you to fall into some calamity for you to realize you've sinned against God. So let me see this. When asked by CP why supporters of same-sex marriage have so adamantly taken a civil rights argument and approach to supporting same-sex marriage, Robertson answered, "Our statement of belief doesn't use the civil rights language in its description. Christians will disagree on that point, as they will on many other aspects of this issue. Our belief and our efforts focus specifically on civil marriage equality, where gay couples are afforded all the same rights as a married couple in the eyes of the government. Benefits from the government is not civil rights. Civil rights is like when you're black living in the days of Rosa Parks and a white guy comes up to you and says, you need to get out of the way because you're in my seat. You need to get to the back of the bus. You know what I mean? That right there is civil rights, you guys. Because when you are treating another human being like he doesn't have any dignity, like he's not made in the image of God, you're not respecting him, you're doing something terrible. That is an injustice. That is an injustice. But that's not what we're talking about here with gay rights. We're talking about licentiousness. We're talking about making the state God. And if you don't believe me, man, I mean, you got to go study some more, because this is all what it is. It's idolatry. It's at the heart of it. Christian, are you really a believer? Do you really believe that God is a living God and that He is actually here right now and listening to all this? Well, He is. And the fact of the matter is that this has nothing to do with civil rights. This has nothing to do with the soul of a person, and that soul has value and and needs to be respected and have dignity. And that's not what we're talking about here. That's civil rights. This is like, I want to have benefits and I want to be licentious and I want to have the same status without having the same principle behind it, because the principle behind it is not based on the Bible, because the covenant in marriage is a covenant based on the Bible, and they just kind of want to take that title so that they can be, claim entitlement to some type of benefit. And it's not. How is that civil rights? How is that civil rights, right? I guess the liberals and the progressives have really gone crazy. And they really have redefined history, and they really have redefined all these words to the New Agers and the postmoderns, because they don't understand that words have fixed meanings, and that you can't just change the meaning of a word everything's relative. Everything's relative because I say it and I'm Hitchens, and when I talk I'm so profound, and no, you guys, get out of your, come on, man, get your head out of your butt and start thinking right. But anyways, defend the faith, pursue truth, and defend liberty, and God bless you.